I think I've picked this topic this week, and I have picked the Minnesota Vikings because the Vikings folks are honestly, I'm so impressed with the way that they've played over the last few weeks, bar the game against the Cowboys where they got completely shut out. Now I'm not sure of that. I think that was the week after Munich, Mark, but you look at this Vikings team and they're 10-2, and we are going to talk about the Lions at a different point in this broadcast, but at the time of recording, there are certain bookmakers, certain sport books that are favouring the Lions over the Vikings. For me, there is one element to talk about the Vikings in this game, but for me, I'm just intrigued to see um, how far this Vikings team can go in the postseason, especially in a very, very open NFC conference.
Yeah, the Vikings are going to get the winner of the NFC's third place battle between Washington and New York. And while that's an entertaining battle right now because every other team or every other game seems to be too easy to pick almost, and then you see that draw on the weekend. So it's like they're going to almost be overinflated already because they're not going to get the first round bye, but essentially they should be able to take care of that NFC East team. Like they are good enough for that. It gets tricky because like Kirk Cousins isn't having a fantastic season. Justin Jefferson, I think, is a handful of touchdowns in terms of what he should be getting. I mean, weren't we talking about he should be at least the offensive player of the year coming into the season? Like, look, I'm past the point of just dumping on the Vikings because of their bend don't break attitude. They tweeted that out during the games the other day, and it got under my skin. I was like, why am I letting this get under my skin? We are having some fantastic finishes thanks to them. I think they have 8 wins, maybe it's 9 wins of 8 or fewer points, and you have to give them some credit because over the last few years it's been heartbreak for those fans because they've been losing super close games on like field goals have been their worst nightmare over the last 3 seasons. So I think it's a bit of karma has come their way. It's frustrating as fans because you're thinking, why can't that be my team? But at the end of the day, their players are now kind of like used to being able to pull out these wins. And that's something that's important as well. You know, they say good teams always find a way to win. And like your likes of Patrick Peterson and all are so kind of talking or speaking up now all of a sudden. We haven't heard from them for years. And it's because they get that confidence, and that confidence it's exuding off the field because it's definitely there on the field as well. And I think you can't really take it away from them. Go and beat them.
It's funny, Michaela, because you're starting to hear from guys like Patrick Peterson, as Marcus said there. Nobody can say that the Vikings can't beat a good or a great team. They're 5-2 against teams that have a plus or a .500 record or more, and it shows you the transformation that the head coach Kevin O'Connell's made to this team. They're an exciting team to watch. A lot of people are on and off about Kirk Cousins like a top sometimes, but honestly, they've proved a lot of people wrong so far this season. And in an NFC North where they are running quite clear, they should use these last few weeks to just prepare for the challenges that they're going to have in the first, second, and third weeks of January.
Yeah, I think the Vikings definitely deserve credit. I don't think anyone expected them to be 10-2 at this point of the season, but I think you would look back and you'd think they were demolished by the Cowboys. And I'm looking at who they've played over the last few weeks, and for me, they bet the Dolphins, but Tua wasn't playing. And then the only other team that stands out to me that they've beaten that are a good team now are the Bills. So you kind of look at this Vikings team, and I'm kind of looking at them like they didn't beat anyone like of note amazingly, and they were picked apart so easily by the Cowboys. But I think I am glad it's the Vikings and not the Packers that are 10-2 and who are going to win the NFC North, because it just makes the NFL interesting. Like, who wants to watch the Packers and Aaron Rodgers win and be like near Super Bowl contenders every year? Like, it's nice to have a team that comes up and surprises everybody. So I definitely think the Vikings deserve the credit they're getting. I think they'll probably go to maybe the divisional round of the playoffs, maybe the NFC Championship, just because the 49ers now have lost their quarterback. But I look back and I think they haven't beaten anyone other than the Bills for me.
And I think to jump in there, the part that people are annoyed about is the two big teams that they face, the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, within that NFC absolutely hockeyed them. And their only big win came in week 1 when we were all surprised, I suppose, at the time, but it's now no surprise, against the Green Bay Packers. And since then, it's been close game after close game. I think that's just grinding on everyone.
Like 7-point differential as well, and you are both spot on. Like that Cowboys game, it wasn't as if they went to Dallas and got humped. They got humped at home, big style. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on going into the postseason as well. Mark, just finally before we move on, I have to question you on your excellent and controversial power rankings. I've seen a lot of people, especially Bills fans. There's a really, really big Bills fan in Ireland that was not happy with you earlier on. Definitely check out his YouTube channel, folks, if you get a chance. But you've put the Vikings in 7th place ahead of the Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins
You
have a
have
pretty
to.
good
You
offense.
have to, because they're so favored now to get that number 2 seed. You know, like I have Dallas and Philadelphia way out, but the AFC is just so competitive. And when you look at Buffalo versus Kansas City, for instance, Kansas City has one more game against a team currently in a playoff position. Buffalo has 3. Now, Buffalo, I think, could win each of those 3 games. But I suppose my power rankings as well is based over the last, say, 5-game spell. And when you compare to what Buffalo has done, like they've had the losses in there, they've had a ton of interceptions from Josh Allen. It wasn't just based on playing New England. Like if it was just on last week's game, well, then they go up, and Kansas City isn't sitting in number 3, just ahead of Cincinnati. But I do think I've been a fan of Cincinnati. We talked about it on the show last week. You called that upset. We said that Cincinnati is actually a powerhouse in waiting. We got there a week before everyone else, and I was able to put them up in my power rankings. So, like, it's not to say anyone in that top 8. When I do my power rankings, the top 8 like is the most difficult but the most fun, because they're all competitive teams. When I was trying to find space to drop the Ravens down past 12, put it that way. So no, I definitely see his point, but I'd like to say I've been proved right a few times this year at my power ranking, so I'll leave it at that.
Fair enough. Michaela, just finally on the Vikings, because we give them a lot of time this week. You're saying NFC Championship game. I like that. You could see them if they say if they did get a Dallas coming up against Dallas. You feel like their experience could potentially get them over the line from what they've learned. They have got the experience of getting the close games, so I'm presuming you're just going to say NFC Championship game against the Eagles. That's your prediction, yeah?
Yeah, probably. It could have been the 49ers, but now with the quarterback situation, it's probably going to be the Vikings.